Well, when you cover or go to theme parks frequently, you see some interesting behavior from guests in these theme parks, as there have been instances in the past where other guests have fought with other guests over where to take a picture. I've personally seen fights almost break out, not quite. And you've even seen some examples of guests being aggressive with cast members and team members of both Disney World and Universal. And along those lines, an incident happened over at Disney World over a very busy weekend. We were actually there over that weekend at Universal and Disney, and there was a lot of people, very busy, as a lot of conventions, dance competitions, and a lot of things were going on. So all the parks, Disney World and Universal, were very busy. But it seems, and this is over here from Kenny the Pirate, that a guest jumped from the Tron platform, I guess down to where the bikes are, the ride is, to try and get on it. I guess they didn't want to wait anymore. I'm not really sure here. This is again from Kenny the Pirate. It says, over the last few years, we've seen our fair share of poorly behaved guests. For example, someone sticking their feet in the water on Splash Mountain, brawls breaking out, and a drunk man shutting down the Skyliner. Oh, yes. Always have to love the people that get a little too much to drink when they're on vacation. It says Disney has a courtesy reminder about behavior on their website, in fact. After all, everyone in the park has a better time and everyone is following the rules, allowing operations to run smoothly. Unfortunately, that reminder hasn't stopped all disruptive guest behavior. Even after the posted reminder, guests have dived into an Epcot fountain and jumped out of Space Mountain and Splash Mountain. I've seen that as well. There was a story years ago about somebody, I think it was Disneyland. They jumped out of Big Thunder Mountain to grab their phone they dropped or something like that, which caused the entire ride to have to shut down. Like, these things do happen, but this one seems a little extreme. It says, on February 1st, a scary situation unfolded at TRON Lightcycle Run. Guests who were past the lockers and lined up to walk down the ramp and the loading area have reported witnessing the act. So allegedly, a male guest jumped from the ramp's area in the preload and landed near the TRON loading area, where guests are sorted to specific load zones. The guest proceeded to jump over the gate separating guests from the ride vehicles and climbed onto one of the bikes. The guest reportedly slumped over after boarding the vehicle. I'm imagining that probably hurt. At that point, Disney cast members evacuated all of the guests in the loading area. They said, is the guest okay? The same eyewitnesses who reported the event on TikTok video below also reported that they witnessed EMTs taking the guest away on a stretcher. There are no official details about the guest's condition so far, but we sincerely hope the good news is for both the guest and their family. So this lady here, well, watch this real quick. She was in line when this happened.
So we're in line for Tron. We have been waiting all day. We bought an individual lightning lane. Line is long. It's like 105 minutes. We are literally in the room to get on the bike, and this guest jumps down from the ramp. It's at least 12 feet, falls down, is sitting down there, and then gets up and jumps over the security gate to get on the bike, and then is slumped over on the bike. They're sitting there, and then we just had to get evacuated. The line to Tron is growing. It's like 105 minutes, and now we've been evacuated, and we don't even know if we're going to get to ride it. We don't know what's happening. Rumor is it could be a Pro Bowl member. I don't really know. Crazy. Never seen anything like that.
So if you're not aware, she mentions a Pro Bowl member because I actually forgot over that same weekend you had the NFL Pro Bowl was going on in Orlando. So there were NFL players and past players walking around the parks. I actually saw Jerome Bettis from a distance. Like they were around. Now, I haven't heard anything to substantiate that it was a Pro Bowler. I think you would hear about that if it was a Pro Bowler, personally speaking. Maybe you wouldn't, but that would just be me. But I mean, some of the comments that this, being on TikTok, someone said, when I tell you cast members were talking about this all day, I mean all day. I can imagine. You don't see something like that all the time in the parks, I would imagine. Someone said, please tell me they at least gave y'all lightning lanes to potentially return. Usually once you make it to a certain point in line, they will. The original poster said, we did get a lightning lane to return, but this was at 9 o'clock at night. The park closes at 11, so we weren't sure at that point if it was gonna reopen. Someone said, we were right behind you. It was so crazy. Says, I have never been at all my trips experienced anything like that. I feel really bad for the families who had kids crying because they had to get out of line. That's the part that's sad. Like, especially if you got kids looking forward to something like that happens, like they don't understand. If that was our daughter, she would be upset if she didn't get to ride a ride for that reason. Like that, that's always something that's not good. Someone said, I was just about to get on the ride when this happened 3 spots from where we were standing to get on the bike. Craziest thing ever. Well, I mean, even the fact that you're able, I guess, one would assume people wouldn't jump from that, but the fact of, like, obviously people could be below, like, it's a very Potentially not only just for the person jumping, but a dangerous situation for, other guests as well. The original poster said they kept running the one side while we were standing there and then finally evacuated the whole bike room. Someone here said, my son-in-law was working. Someone asked, does he know if it was someone there for the Pro Bowl? And then she responded and said, definitely was not. So it seems like the rumor of it being a Pro Bowler was not true, which that would mean. I mean, I would assume if you're an NFL, all-pro, you're not going to be jumping off 12-foot, platforms onto rides, given, you're going to make millions of dollars. That would be kind of a dumb move to make. So I never really thought that one was something that would make a lot of sense. And I also would assume you would hear more about that. Like if somebody was famous, I think you would have heard more about that, of that potentially happening. Someone said, I was there still in line the entire time outside. They took someone out on a stretcher, and there were a bunch of security there. Was also an ambulance, fire truck, and police car. It eventually opened, though. So in this instance of this ride being down for a while, was not Disney's fault. So I guess to add this to the list of things not to do in a theme park, which would be jumping from 12-foot tall platforms down to try and get on a ride. I'm guessing unless something happened, it was an accident of some sort, that they will more than likely get banned from the parks, as this is something that will easily get you banned. In fact, the people that will jump in the waters, you'll hear from time to time over at Epcot or anywhere else, that will essentially get you a ban immediately. I'm not saying it is. Magic Kingdom's a harder one. It could be alcohol. They do serve alcohol if you go into the sit-down restaurants. They don't have it available like they do at all the other parks where you can just walk up, grab a drink, and walk around. So it's not that it can't be possible that it was alcohol, but it's not as likely, I suppose. It's also possible just, somebody had mentioned that some people were worried about their mental health, which I would say if you're not drunk and you're jumping off of a 12-foot platform onto a ride, I would probably say that's a decent thing to question the mental health of that individual. At least in that moment, something was going on there or whatever the case may be. And guest behavior, especially the last, recent years, we saw that major brawl out in Disneyland. I think it was 3 or 4 years ago where it was an entire family got into a massive brawl in Fantasyland that went on for like 5+ minutes. I believe charges were pressed with that, if I remember correctly. There's been multiple fights at Disney World, not as many at Universal. I haven't seen as much. Like you do see, like Halloween Horror Nights, you do, people are drinking more. I've never actually seen any fights break out. I have seen police escorting people out of Halloween Horror Nights, but personally speaking, I haven't seen anything like that at Universal. You just don't hear about it as much at Universal, but I haven't seen it as much. But Disneyland and Disney World have had their issues with this, and I do think, and we talked about it before, Universal has they patented an AI system to one of the things behind it is to help curb bad guest behavior. It's supposed to potentially pick up on if people are drinking too much, if people are cutting in line, bad language like smoking, like different things like that potential disruptive guests would do. The AI would pick up on this and be able to send cast members or security over to an area quicker than relying on someone coming and telling somebody and then starting it that way. I think Disney more than likely is probably working on this same type of technology, or they already have something in the works for that, because this is obviously theme parks make a lot of money, and as it becomes even more competitive with Disney and Universal, something bad happening in the parks due to a guest is something that would not even necessarily be Universal or Disney's fault, but could definitely hurt their reputation and really people thinking it's dangerous to go there. I mean, when there was a span there, I think it was like a year and a half ago, 2 summers ago maybe, where there was multiple fights that broke out at Disney World. It's something that you can't, obviously, like, you cannot control 2 different groups of people in a theme park getting into a fight. So it's not necessarily Disney's fault in that instance, but obviously if you hear a lot about these fights breaking out or people jumping from these things like it's unsafe, this does start, leading people to think like, oh, I don't know if I want to go. That seems dangerous. And I'm sure, given the money on the line and the fact that if you can use technology to curb these types of things, I think that's something both Disney and Universal will probably implement for, I think, a lot of logical reasons. Whatever you feel about AI, I definitely think that that's something they will utilize to their advantage. But, just don't jump from platforms. Just don't do it. I mean, just wait. If you don't want to wait, don't ride it. I mean, I don't think it's worth the wait, but I don't think jumping down there to do that is going to help anybody out or yourself there. But either way, that's going to be it, though, for this video. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel, as we do lots of coverage here of Universal Studios, Epic Universe, Disney World, and pop culture. And let us know in the comments, what is the craziest thing you've ever seen in a theme park? And until next time, we will see you in the parks.